Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Investing Bros. It is Wednesday, and that means it's Super Guest Wednesday today, and we've got a great one lined up for you guys. Crypto Savvy is joining the show, and here's the thing. He is a known bear at the moment. He does not think the bottom is in. This is something going back and forth with a lot of different creators in the space. Some people think the bottom is in, others do not. I am a big fan of listening to people's opinions that disagree with yours so that you can continue to learn, and he has got some great stuff. He's been investing and trading for years, so anytime you hear someone like that, you can't just wipe their opinions under the rug and say they don't know what they're talking about, because clearly they have a lot of experience. Super excited to hear everything what he's talking about. We're going to be talking a lot of Bitcoin. Where is the bottom? He's convinced it's not in yet, but where? Is it 14? Is it 10? Is it all the way down at 3,000? We'll talk about that and a lot more in today's show. So make sure you go ahead and smash that like button. If this is your first time here and you're joining us, maybe you came over with Savvy. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning. We go live every weekday from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We talk Bitcoin and crypto and stocks. We look at the technical analysis. We look at the news to inform you on everything you need to know to be investing wisely for yourself. If that is something that you love, go ahead and smash that subscribe button and join us every single morning. I am joined by my co-host, though, T. Shroom. How are you doing this morning, T. Shroom?
Better than I deserve, Tim.
Yes.
Doing really, really good. It's a classic morning here for your T. Shroom brother on the Investing Bros. So I got a good quote for you today, Tim. I want to see if you agree with this.
Okay.
Great minds discuss ideas. Average minds discuss events. And small minds discuss people. That one comes from Eleanor Roosevelt, but I will say that it looked like it was attributed to multiple different people when I was looking on Google Images.
Like Nick Robinson?
Yeah, nickrobinson.org. So
Yeah.
what do you think, Tim? Do you spend more time talking about people or ideas?
Ooh, that's a good question. I definitely get around all three topics there. So there's definitely, I got some great mind moments, some average mind moments, and some small mind moments. But again, who doesn't? I like that quote though. That is a good quote. I'll stash that away. That's a good kind of quote for a question for people in chat. How many of these quotes of the days do you guys like take and then you use on like a regular occurrence?
Yeah.
We'll see what we're impacting. I asked a good question in chat here today, and it's getting some good pull out. I want to see more. We only have 27 votes. We want to see as this continues to progress what happens here. But the question I asked would you rather, T-Shroom, go back to 2015, knowing everything you know about Bitcoin? By the way, back in 2015, the bottoms, we're looking at prices of like $200 for Bitcoin. Would you rather do that or just get a $10 million input to your bank right now today? 55% are saying go back to 2015. 45 saying 10 million. And this is a good question. To be honest, I'm going to say 10 million. And that's because even if I knew everything back in 2015, I had like no money. So if I invested my entire net worth in 2015 into Bitcoin, I'd probably still only have like maybe $100,000 worth of Bitcoin at this point. Like I don't know if I had much more than $1,000 to my name back in 2015.
Yeah, well, I mean, it wouldn't matter if you have even, just a couple of bucks, you put it in, you'd be doing really well by the time you get to where we are today, 2023.
Yeah.
March 1st, baby, which, by the way, I think we closed 2 monthly green candlesticks on Bitcoin as of last night. So that's really,
technically
really good.
Speaking, yes, we did. It is one of the worst, like little. I'll actually here. Let me zoom in. I was looking at some stuff this morning. Let's show what the monthly candles look like. And then
you can't keep Tim off the charts.
Here we go.
He's got to break through into the chart.
Look at this. Look at this monthly. So this is what we've done so far today. So we already today within the last 9 hours have outdone all of February because we got a little this is what we call a doji candle right here. Indecision. It's like a spinning top. A lot of times these actually mark reversals, and I think that's actually something that we're going to see Savvy mention here in just a couple of minutes. While technically speaking, yes, we have 2 green monthly candles, and we're starting off on a good foot with March. March is a very long month. We got a lot of stuff coming in, and that, I'm going to be honest, usually is an indecision / reversal candle look. So we'll see. I'm very interested to see what Savvy says about that. Yeah. Speaking of him, we're going to bring him in here in just a second. But a little bit about today's show. first of all, there's not a lot of news anyway, so we're not going to cover a lot of news. Savy's going to be with us. We're going to get him in here in a second. He's going to go at about 9:40, and then we'll kind of continue to go on. We might even do some request TA for some altcoins, so make sure you guys are submitting your requests over there. I'm going to read a couple of names really quickly, T-Shroom.
Go for it.
And then we're going to jump in with Savy and get going. But I do want to give a special shout out to our first commenter of the day, a mellow fellow. Welcome. That's 2 days in a row for a mellow fellow. He's coming for you, Mr. J.
Not so mellow.
Mr. J did come in second, but a mellow fellow did win. Just a couple more names. CBD Suddy, Curtis Rorick, T-Shroom, of course, Mr. Bitcoin, Trevor, and the last one I'm going to say, Wind Peoples. Thank you so much for commenting, guys. Shorter group of names today, but that's because I'm just so excited about the content we're about to get into. If I didn't say your name, that does not mean I don't love you. It just means it is time to jump in, and we've got a special treat with Crypto Savvy here this morning. So first of all, Savvy, how are you doing this morning?
Oh, muted.
Oh, we got mute. That's not
good. How you guys doing? I was
go.
Just tweeting out your
awesome
live here. So.
Awesome.
Sick. Much appreciated. Yeah. Well, I'm doing well. Tim's doing well.
Doing good. I got a lot of questions, Savvy, and we talked a little bit before the show. But my first question.
Yeah.
A lot of people probably are wondering the same thing. Do you hate Bitcoin? Like, are you rooting for Bitcoin to fail? Do you think it's going to zero? Or do you recommend that people just get out of the space and never get back in ever again?
Not at all. A lot of people misinterpret the things I say for that. I actually am pretty damn bullish on Bitcoin in the very long term, right? Just not quite yet. I think the crypto market, I think all markets need a pretty good washout, and I think it's in the process right now.
Yeah, that's gonna be a question I'm gonna ask here in just a second, because I want to get even more of your reasoning for that. I've seen some very interesting things. I've been following your YouTube channel and you on Twitter now for at least a year, if not longer. Very, very good stuff. I tell our audience all the time, do I agree with you on every single thing I ever see you put out? No. But for every single time I've seen you post something, I'm like, well, I don't know if I agree with that. There's been other things that I've seen you put out that I'm like, oh gosh, that's a good point. Like I gotta rewire how I think about this. And that's honestly how I think everybody should be. You should always be following people you agree with and disagree with to continue to update your learning. But we were talking about this a little bit beforehand. You've been in this space, investing space now for 10 years, or is it a little longer?
Yeah, a little longer than 10 years, okay. Yeah.
How long have you been in, and what was your experience like even before you found Bitcoin and crypto?
I was mostly into penny stocks, right? So it's been about 11 or 12 years, somewhere in there. And I talked to you guys a little bit about that before the video, that I started out in penny stocks, and I belonged to a bunch of forums in there. Basically kind of like what Twitter is, but not so harsh, right? People are actually trying to help people in the forums. But anyway, that kind of started dying down, the communities for penny stocks and stuff. Everybody was moving to crypto, and that's kind of when I made my way over to crypto.
Yeah.
It was in the beginning of 2017.
Yeah. Who are some of your mentors? Like, did you have any specific people, like big name people, or was it just like you just found a good group of guys and girls who knew what they were doing in investing? Like, what did your kind of learning experience look like in the beginning?
Well, I was all over like I said, the forums and stuff. I wasn't even, I didn't have a Twitter account or nothing back then, but just in the forums, I would meet people in there, and, you would get some good info, some bad info, and it was just a matter of weeding stuff out and then doing my own research online, and that's where I learned a lot about not buying programs. I apologize if you guys sell programs, but I've seen a lot of people get really, really crushed by doing that there and in crypto. The best way to learn, there's so much free info out there. Usually if someone's selling a course, they can't make money themselves trading. So, and I learned that in penny stocks. Does it apply to crypto? I think so, but everyone has their own opinion.
Interesting.
But yeah, so basically, if you're not willing to put in the work to find the information, there's no real easy way to get out of it. And I consider like buying a course being lazy, thinking you're gonna become an awesome trader by looking at this course, when really, just like anything else, you got to actually put the work in.
Yes. Yeah. That's absolutely, I agree with you 100%.
And you're got to expect, everybody thinks, you know, people that do good in trading just make tons of money and they made money off the rip, and that's not the case. You're gonna lose money. I don't care who you are, and if any trader says they hadn't lost a lot of money, I think they're lying. It's kind of like paying tuition, right? You learn from your mistakes, and hopefully, if you can't learn from your mistakes, then trading's probably not for you. And it's not for everybody. That's the other thing, you know. Some people just either don't have the time, or you know, they just don't have the focus, or you know, there's other things in lives going on. But if you are dedicated to it and it's what you really want to do, chances are you can succeed. They always say 90% of traders lose, you know, crush their accounts, and some of them say 90 days, 60 days, 6 months, whatever, which is probably true. But the 10% that stick around are the ones taking the, you know, to stick around, they get through the hard times, but that 10% is taking money from the 9% or 90%. But you can jump out of the 90% category and get into the 10% category if you work at it.
Yeah, no, everything you said there is so true. I mean, that's part of my journey too. I tell people all the time, it's not like I just learned technical analysis and learned investing strategies and stuff by just watching 1 or 2 videos and all of a sudden, boom, it's there. It's a lot of failure. It's a lot of growing. But when you dedicate your time and your energy to things and you work hard, those are the things in life that you get the biggest payoff. Anything that comes easy usually is not really that valuable whatsoever. It's the hard things that really bring value, and it's those failures. But another thing, and I'm sure you agree with this one, would be as long as you're a part of that 90% you're talking about, because I've never heard 90 to 10%, but that's a good way of thinking about it. The 10 are constantly just stealing money from the 90%. So as long as you're part of the 90%, never invest more money than you're willing to lose. That was one of the best pieces of advice I got early on, was when you're early to trading, when you're early to investing in stuff, you got to kind of imagine you're taking your money, whatever you're going to put in there, and you're taking it outside, you're putting it in a trash can, you're lighting it on fire. Maybe you'll never see it ever again. Maybe it'll turn into millions of dollars. You don't know. It's about learning, but you don't risk more than you're actually able to get away with losing. It's really hard. It's really sad even, you know, I don't know what words YouTube lets us say, when you hear some of these stories of people just getting absolutely brutally killed in the trading game, and then they want to, you know, take their life, or they just feel like there's no future whatsoever. And it's like, that's so sad. Trying to invest in your future should never cost you your life, but there's wisdom that you can use along the way to keep it from getting to that point. So it's all good stuff. I want to kind of transition. Let's go ahead and dive in here, Savvy, and let's talk about Bitcoin. I want you to be able to share your screen and look at some charts. Before I get into the nitty gritty, let's just pull up your Bitcoin chart and let you break down, what are you seeing this morning? It is the 1st of March. By the way, it is my wife's birthday too. So happy birthday to Taylor Warren. I don't think she's in chat.
Happy
this
birthday.
morning. But yeah, so we have some celebrating to do tonight. But yeah, what are you seeing on this first day of March on the Bitcoin chart?
All right, so I want to start out with the monthly chart real quick, because we had been talking about this all month.
Oh, I can't see
on
it
my
quite
channel.
yet.
Well, oh, you can't.
Yeah.
No, when you see it.
It's not popping up to what I see.
Yep. We'll just take a second here to sort that out.
Here we go.
Try
there
again.
we go. There we go. Got you.
All
I think.
right. Yep.
Let me know if
There we go.
It looks good.
Perfect.
Looks good.
All right, so this is the monthly chart we've been watching on my channel, right? So as you can see, we had lower highs right here. And I want to kind of debunk something else while I'm showing you the monthly chart, because a lot of people are saying the monthly chart is showing a bullish divergence, right? But I'm going to kind of show you that's another thing that I learned the hard way. So anyways, what we were talking about is a lower high in the monthly, a higher high right here on the RSI, right? So, and I've been talking about, if we closed the monthly below the 23,327, that would confirm that hidden bearish divergence right there for me. And hidden divergence is a continuation of the trend, right? So the trend is down in the monthly. We're looking at the monthly chart. So hidden bearish. Now, I talked about yesterday, the monthly will probably make a wick. So we can expect a wick up here, as long as it doesn't break above, above this 20, 25. Well, I'll show you that in a weekly chart, because I have a weekly chart talking about I would start to consider the bottom possibly in if we can open and close one weekly candle above 25.8. I've been saying that all last year, pretty
Okay.
much, the 55 EMA. Right?
Interesting.
So, but anyway, we did close below there, and as you guys were talking about earlier, we got this doji right here, which is usually a sign of a reversal. But there's two signs there that are bearish, in my opinion, that shows that it's most likely a reversal candle. And another thing I wanted to talk about while we're on the monthly, people like to draw this line in here and say that we're getting higher high. They're going off these lows saying, you know, you got a lower low here and a higher low here. That's, you know, bullish divergence, right? But can't go from way over here. You have to go from this last high. And I'll show you if you would have done that over here, right? See this trend line I have in here. If you'd have done the same thing over here, right, you would have got the same type deal. That would have looked like, you know, super bullish, right? But you had to go after the high up here. So then you can only use this low, and there's no divergence there yet. Zoom into the monthly, you got lower lows in the RSI, still got lower lows in the price action. There's no divergence. The only divergence that's showing right now is the hidden bearish divergence in the monthly.
Yeah, very, very good. Craig, I would say one thing I think we talked about beforehand show, I think if you get away from your mic, it gets a little quiet. But I do think we still heard everything you said. I want to show one thing and iterate and take a pause there. Go to my screen here real quick, T-Shroom. Something that Craig is saying very, very, very good. He's looking at this point. A lot of people are using this point right here and saying, oh, we got bearish divergence. I love that he's pointing this out. This is something that actually we talk about, is that if you just use all of history on a chart and try to look for divergences, that's where you really trap yourself in ideas. Another thing you can kind of use is say, hey, you know, once we've used a certain point for divergence before, don't keep beating the hammer and using that same point. So for example, let's say we didn't know any of this stuff happening. Let's go back maybe to, you know, 2018, 2019. This would have been bullish divergence right here on the monthly chart. And using these points right here, you guys can see clearly the price bottoms and the RSI bottoms are going a different direction. So that's one reason why Savy's 100% correct. It is bad TA to keep using this point because it's like beating a dead horse. At some point, you got to release that point and start moving to new ones. So in case anyone was wondering why Savy's saying that, why he's saying that's a bad point to be using for divergences, that's one of the teachings that we do here to help explain that better. I'm going to throw it back over to Savy, though, and let's keep going on.
Are we going to keep going in the charts?
Yeah, let's keep doing the charts and So I love that you're showing us we got some hidden bearish divergence. It will be interesting to watch. You know, we got to see where March closes. Obviously, we want to look at candle body closes, but I'm what we're looking at right now. I think I'm in the same camp as you. If we close higher in March, I'm going to be very surprised. I think there's more bearish news and stuff coming. Anything else that you're noticing on the charts, or we can even start to expand into some of the questions. Obviously, the biggest question of them all that people have been asking, and a lot of people just want to kind of put a pacifier in their mouth and say, oh, bottom's in, that's it. Let's stop talking about new bottoms. Right. What is the bottom? What are you looking at? I know you probably don't have one point that's just your exact moment, but what are the different levels you're looking at in expectation that the bottom is not in at this point?
Well, I'm going to go to this. I know a lot of people hate this chart. Some people love it. Some people hate it. But this is the one on December 2nd, 2021, I posted a video talking about the .com bubble compared to the Bitcoin chart, right? And I'd always talked about staying below the 55 EMA in the bear trend. And as you can see, it's exactly what we're doing. We're still staying below it. So that point, and I have it at 25.8. I have quite a bit more into that number. I'm not going to go over it all, but still same thing, to the 55 EMA. So I would need to see a weekly candle. That means the same candle open and close above this, right? Not a wick above, not just a close above one, or just a open above, but an open and close of the weekly. And then I would consider. I'm still not convinced because I think there's a possibility it could go as high as 31.5 before going down. But this is pretty much my point where I would, you know, start to consider the bottom being in. But I think we see more lower lows before we see anything like that happen.
And I think that's I want to pause even right there, Savvy. It's a really good point. A lot of people hear technical analysts make a call for a certain price action, and when the price originally moves in the opposite direction, they get like fingers pointed at them saying, "Oh, you were wrong, you were terrible, you got this." This happens all the time where you can make a very, very good call. You can say, I see the price going to X, but the price first bounces the opposite direction to Y.
Right.
That doesn't make X wrong. It just takes a little bit longer time to get there. So this is a part, like, whenever I see people go after you and talk about they don't like how you're a bear, and they're saying, like, oh, he got his prediction wrong. He got a prediction wrong. I'm like, well, we don't know yet. Like, just because it's not heading exactly the moment he said it on February 1st, he says it's going down to this price. Just because it didn't happen by February 2nd doesn't mean it's wrong. It just hasn't happened yet. So the fact that you're saying, hey, I'm even looking and willing to say a $31,000 price could happen, and yet still set a new bottom, I think it's very important for people to hear the entire context of what you're saying, and not just saying because we're heading in the opposite direction, you must be wrong.
Right. And you get that a lot. I mean, bulls and bears both get that, you know, it's just what it is. People want to hear, this is what you need to do to make money, blah, blah, blah. Or, you know, they want exact calls. And I don't like making calls. Honestly, don't even really like sharing my trades. And I might share some after, but I do have a small group of people I do share with. But just because people want to jump in, they don't understand risk management, what you're, you know, what you're really doing, and everybody's risk is different. So that's another thing I don't like about trading programs. They try to teach one way. So everybody's, you know, got a different amount of time they can put towards it, or, you know, so everyone's financial situation's different, their risk tolerance different. So there's no cookie cutter program for anything. You know, I've never met two real traders that actually trade the exact same. Right?
I agree.
That's not how it works. So
I agree.
You find a program that works for you, for your time, for your risk management, for your, you know, financial situation, and then you know, find your strategy with all that combined.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Savvy? What are your thoughts about people who try to just do copy trading? They just try to find someone they think is really good, and they just want to copy.
You're gonna get wrecked.
Yeah.
You're gonna get wrecked. I don't. You can follow my trades, and you're gonna get wrecked because you don't know what. What leverage I'm using, or if I'm using leverage, or exactly, you know, I don't have everything in my trading account. My whole trading account is what I'm willing to lose, right? So I have a lot less, you know, I don't put all my money in a trading account, and I don't, you know, people don't understand that stuff, I guess. So, and that's why that is my main purpose for leverage on, crypto, is I don't have to put all of my money on the exchange, right? I can use it on leverage. So if I want to do $100,000 trade, I can do it at, you know, 10,000 at 10% or 10x leverage, and still be playing with the same amount of money, but not risking losing it on that exchange, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Let's jump back over, and so we got there. We were going, and this is such a great conversation. I know we only have like another 20 minutes or so. I feel like we could have a very long show. Would love to have you back on, and we'll dive more into stuff. But let's talk more about those bottom prices. I'm seeing, when I was looking at your chart, I saw in there, I think I saw 3,500 on there. I know pre-show we were talking about some other levels. What are some of the newer levels? So we're talking about below. Officially at this point, we've set a 15.5. Is it 15.5, 16.5, 15.5, right? It's been a while since I looked at the bottom. 15.5, yeah, okay. What are levels below 15.5 that you are watching and saying, hey, I'm keeping my eyes on these? And then let's even maybe talk probability. What in your mind are the probabilities of these different points being hit?
Okay, real quick before I do that, I wanted to show you guys. We've talked about this the whole time, that each one of these rallies is just, you know, basically searching for exit liquidity all the way over here.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty much, you know, what we're seeing right here. We had talked about that for a long time on this channel, you know, expecting rallies, and everyone gets super bullish on these rallies, and that's what we keep seeing. I just want people, you can't make people not feel emotion, but if you become aware of your emotion, it can help you in the markets. Anyways, so one more thing. I talked about the bubble pop pattern. As you can see here, this one's Nintendo. You can see the big false rally and the similarities in these charts. I love patterns, and these are all the same. I don't know if you've seen this one yet, but same thing. You had a 65% rally right here, before, going down to new lows. Same thing in Sony over here. Same thing. You had a couple of them in Sony, and then you even had one big one right here. And all these are weekly charts, so it's not like I'm comparing a hourly to a weekly. It's just something I wanted to point out.
Yeah.
But as in for price action, are you talking about more short term?
Yeah, let's keep it macro, and then if we have time, we can go more short term. Let's talk about I think timelines. Maybe even what would your potential timeline look like? So what we've expressed at this point is what we know. So the bottom, in your opinion, more than likely is not in. There's a chance we make a rally, maybe even as high as 31.5, but unless we start and close a weekly candle above 25.8, I believe is what you said, that the chances of a bottom are still high. What are those chances? Are we talking, 14.3 is a level that I know you've talked about a lot, that you had a lot of conviction about us touching 14.3. And when we were going down, I thought 14.3 is a very good spot too. I, in my opinion of what I've been looking at, I think the chances of us going down that low, I'm not very strongly opinion that way, but I know you have a stronger opinion that. Is it 14.3, in your opinion, a great place for a bottom? Are we going down to 9.5, and then that really bearish scenario, maybe 3.5 to 4.5 or 5,000 or so? What are your thoughts about those levels?
Right here is what I'm looking at. If we look at the daily, right, it's a little bit messy, but these lines have been here for a long time, so I'm going to keep them there. But anyways, right now, what we're looking for is this 22.3, 22.4, which will line up with the 55 EMA. That holds support, then we could continue up. This breaks, I'm looking for around 18,000. And then we may bounce around in here for a little while. If 18,000 breaks, your next support is going to be around that 16.6. Then you have, depending on where it was to land here. But if we break that 18,000, probably going to bounce around in here for a little bit. But once you break that 16, what is that, 16.8, 16.9 range, if we break that, I'm looking to come down for a retest on this. Could be anywhere, depending on how long it takes, right? Because this is a descending trend line. So let's say 13.7 to 12.5, somewhere in that range, depending on if, when, and where. But if that breaks, my false bottom, I think, is going to be between 75 and 8,500. I say false bottom because for over a year, I've been saying false bottom in February or March. February's over. We still have March, right? Could go into April, I suppose. But that would just line up with a lot of other bubble pops with timing. So anyone that's familiar with what happened to Amazon after the bubble pop, that's why I'm bullish on Bitcoin. But I'm looking for 75 to 85. Like I said, that could end up being, or 75 to 95, like 100. That could end up being the bottom if we get down there, right? And like I said, either way, I will be laddering in some positions down there. And then if that ends up being the bottom, great. I won't fully get out of my position, but I will be taking some profits on the way up just in case. And still waiting for these 35 to 4,500. And I've said since 2021 that I think the bottom would be in September or October of 2023. I still think that's, unless something, and gets invalidated on my charts, I have to stick with, my plan. There's nothing has invalidated my plan yet, right? I've always had validation and invalidation points. Until that changes, nothing's changed.
And I think that's a great thing. I don't know if T-Shirt, if you ever thought here in a second.
Well, I was just gonna say, I'm seeing a lot of maturity in the chat. I'm not seeing a lot of people come back at you with like, oh, you're such a bull, you're so wrong. I'm seeing a lot. I'm seeing a lot of maturity. I'm seeing a lot of people, maybe not agree with what you say, but absorbing it and taking it in the right way. What I'll say is, Gareth Soloway, who's also been known to call very unpopular levels. He has revised his bottom to that 13.3 level, right, up from around 9, sub 9. So I'm just pointing that out. That doesn't mean anything, crazy. I'm just saying another person who has called things pretty well does think that 13 is where we're headed. And then from there, obviously, to the upside, it could go lower, but you're not alone, is what I'm saying.
and something I want to point out that I hope people are taking away that Savy's talking about, because I've seen people go out and say Savy's going to wreck people, Savy's going to wreck himself. First of all, let me ask you a clarifying question. Savy, are you broke?
I am not broke.
You are not
nowhere
broke.
near broke.
My man's building a house. He's got a family. My man has money, which means he has plans that work. And even as he's looking at these lower levels, maybe you agree, maybe you disagree, but notice what he talks about throughout while he's talking about those levels. He has invalidation points, meaning does he have conviction about the price going down? Yes, he has conviction about the price going down. But he has things, and he has a plan put in place. If X happens, I will change my mind. I've seen way too many people either be super bearish or super bullish and have conviction the price is going to go in one direction, but they have no plan for changing their mind. This is the type of stuff you have to have. Like with Savvy, what he's talking about, yes, is he bearish right now in the more shorter term, rest of the year? He is. But does he have a plan to reverse? Absolutely. So anyone who's listening to him right now should, honestly, I was talking with Tisha the other day. Do I think we're going down to 9,000, 3,000? I'll be honest. No, I don't think so. But should I put a potential ghost wick buy-in order there? We've seen stuff like that happen before, where it's in one little hour candle crashes by 10,000. And then shoots back up.
That was on Ethereum, but yeah, I remember that.
Well, no, so Ethereum would have been 10,000, but it was 60% or something like that.
Yeah,
it was a little flash crash. So I want to throw it back over, but point out anyone who goes after Savvy, he has a plan, and something we talked about previously on the show before we got live. He was talking about how he has a lot of power, and his power is he doesn't care about social media to make money. He makes money by trading. He knows what he's doing, so he's not afraid of hurting feelings. I just encourage everyone who's listening to this, whether you agree or disagree, again, listen to what he's talking about. Maybe you don't like all of the bones, spit them out, but listen to the meat and the potatoes of what he's talking about when it comes to strategy and planning, because it is brilliance. Savvy, I want to throw it back to you, and you can keep going on the.
I just want to touch on what you were saying about what I was saying about having a plan, right? Yeah. So on December 2nd, 2021, when I started talking about all this happening, I had talked about getting out. You should be getting out, and you would have fake rallies all the way up. So most people were telling people to buy at every little dip here, buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip. So even if we get above here, and I was wrong that it's going lower, I've always said that I would buy up in here, right? Which is way better than if you were buying in here.
Absolutely.
So, people have to take that stuff into consideration, the market as a whole, what's going on. This really is nothing compared to what we've seen last year, right? This is really just like a blip.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what T-Shim and I were talking about the other day when we're looking at the Fear and Greed Index. I didn't like it. When I'm seeing the Fear and Greed Index sitting at 56, almost 60, I'm like, the last time we saw a 56, 60 point on the Fear and Greed Index, we were sitting at 48,000. We're literally half of the price action, and yet we're seeing the same amount of greed showing up. So now we're back down to 50, but we got up to 61. Yeah, the last time we hit 61 was that peak, at $48,000 peak. We're half the price, and yet we're still hitting those same levels.
Yeah. Well, I like it. Do we have time, Savvy, to pivot over to the S&P and talk about downside for equities? Because I am seeing in the chat some folks making some compelling arguments. Did you have some time to talk about equities?
I follow the Dow.
Okay. Yeah, no worries.
Let's do that.
Same difference.
Yeah. So I follow the Dow. We did break through our support here. Have we broke this low today? I think we did.
Yeah, it looks like
it's sitting right at it. But this is what I'm looking for the next bounce area, 32,250. If that breaks, I'm seeing around 3,100 right down in this range, or 31,000 points for the Dow. So yeah, I see much more downside for the Dow, honestly, guys. This is what I'm looking at, and I've been looking at this for years. Come back down to these levels. This is just a median line, right? Let's go to the weekly. We're way off the median line, guys. This looks like a massive bubble pop, right? This is. It looks like I don't want to cuss on your guys' channel, but it looks like a crap coin, right?
Yeah.
That's literally what it looks like. This thing needs to correct in a big way.
How far down do you think we need to correct to?
Well, let's go into the daily. At this chart, I think at least back down to these. I'm looking at like 22. If that doesn't hold, it could get really, really ugly, and that would mean that probably some nasty stuff's going on in the world. But I could see us getting down all the way back to these.
Wow.
Crazy as that might seem.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, because
am I saying it's going there for sure? No,
Yeah.
but I am saying this thing needs. It's gonna most likely keep coming down.
Yeah.
For a while, and you're gonna have days where it goes up, just like you do in every drop, right?
Yeah.
And everybody starts screaming, "You're wrong! It's going to the moon!" But
yeah.
But yeah, the invalidation point for this is as simple as getting above this trend line now. If it was to do that in the next couple of days, would be about 34,220, and it would obviously go down. But anything, as long as we're below this, I think we're still in all markets.
Okay,
makes sense. I know we got like probably 4 minutes here left. One question I want to ask you, we can go off the charts, and I just want to even get into this. What would you say if someone was watching this video right now and saying, "Oh man, I love what I'm seeing from Savy. I think that his charts are great. I'm going to just blindly follow his charts, and I'm going to subscribe to his channel, but then I'm just, everything he ever says, I'm just going to follow it like right on the every word he says." What are your thoughts about people who make those types of decisions?
My channel is literally just to show people what I'm seeing and kind of how to maneuver, right? I'm not telling you that I have a crystal ball, that any of this is guaranteed, but by watching my channel, you can show, or you can see how I, get my ideas on the market and what it comes from, and kind of then learn from that. That's my whole hope, is that people just learn something from it. Whether I'm not here to tell anybody what to do, buy, sell, trade, short, I'm not telling anybody what to do. I'm showing you how I see what I see in the markets and what I use to see that stuff. And that's basically just, I do it for education. That's what my channel's for, right?
Nice.
So never go all in on anything anybody says, right? Even, I don't care. I mean, just look at the so-called pros on the news, right? It's, nobody knows for sure what's going to happen, but you can learn to look for, areas to watch, areas of interest.
Yeah. Well, really quick, we got a super chat from Google user. Have a feeling you might know who that is. Donated $5. Said, "Shout out to Savy from Google user, but still calling a melt up. Love his work." So somebody who can disagree but not be a butthole about it. We love to see it.
Yeah, that's the whole thing, man. It's you got to agree to disagree.
Yeah.
Period. There's too much hate in this space. Let's try to tone it down a notch so people can focus. Right.
Yeah, that's right. Kumbaya.
Well, and here's, as we're kind of tuning this out, I want to kind of flip the script on people. I had a friend in high school who he called himself a optimistic pessimist. And his argument he would make to people was that the most optimistic people were pessimists. And his reason for that was, he said, if you're just optimistic about everything, if you think everything's going to always go exactly how you want it, you're in for a life of disappointment. And it's very depressing. But if you're pessimistic, you're constantly surprised that things happen really good, which makes you a long-term optimistic person. And so while we call them bears, people who are calling for these $9,000s, $3,000s, $5,000 prices, I want people to pause for a second before they just say like, "Oh, that person's wrong." What if we go down that far? What's your plan? What are you going to do with it? If anything, could we not make the argument that people calling for a $5,000 Bitcoin, unless they're saying that Bitcoin's going to go to zero, but people like Savy calling 5,000, they might be the biggest bulls of us all, because they're going to freaking make bank. They're going to buy a buttload of Bitcoin at very, very low prices if they're true. What are your thoughts about that, Savy?
I just want to show you what happened to Amazon after that all played out real quick. Share my screen.
Yeah, Amazon's a good story with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can see the similarities, and that's what I'm going off of, same type bubble, right? But after that bubble, you can see what happened to Amazon. I mean, that's pretty bullish, to say the least, right?
Yeah.
This is where we are now, in my opinion, right in here. So yeah, I'm very, very, very bullish in the long term.
Yeah.
And I think, and like I said, I think when a bubble pops in a market, it usually washes out all the, over leveraged people, including banks and stuff like we've seen in 2008, 2009. bad projects, all that, so that once that money's out, it'll come back in. It'll just go into different parts of the market. And I think Bitcoin is going to be a big part of that in the future. I don't think this is going to happen anytime soon, but yeah, in the long run, it's looking good.
Man, love it.
Great.
Well, Savy, we're going to let you go. I know you got to run and get some stuff done, but thank you so much for joining us this morning. We'll have you on again really soon. Make sure any of you guys listen to him. If you don't follow him or you never met Savy, there's links in our description down below for both his Twitter and his YouTube. Go follow him. And honestly, even if you disagree with him, I would say follow him so that you have that person who challenges your way of thinking. That's what I love having. I have people that are super bullish that I follow, super bearish, people in the middle, and it's always to challenge my thinking. So if you guys loved what you heard from Savy today, go ahead and follow him. Great show. So far we got about 20 more minutes here, T-Shroom.
Absolutely.
I want to just hear your thoughts. What are your thoughts as a whole about everything we just talked about?
Well, it's making you kind of take a step back and reevaluate. It kind of makes me think of how important it is to not invest with money you can't afford to lose, right? Not just risk management, but that is how you actually build generational wealth in the long term. Because if you have, let's say, $3,000 in Bitcoin right now, but you're down on it, right? You initially invested $3,000, but you're down $2,000, right? That's very possible if you bought the tops and you haven't been DCAing, right? Mm-hmm. The worst, and let's say you fall into an emergency, right, and you don't have any liquidity to be able to pay for the hospital bills or pay for the ambulance or something like that, you're going to have to sell your Bitcoin, and then you're going to have to, you probably would give up at that point. You'd have this emotional barrier because of the failure you experienced in this investment, right? Whereas if you only invested money that you could afford to lose and had an emergency fund, had liquidity on the sidelines ready to deploy in case of emergency, which you always have to assume that there's going to be an emergency in your life. That's part of investing. It's part of what we talk about here on the Investing Bros. But the biggest failure of that is actually not losing the money, right? It's the fact that you don't get to experience that Amazon ascent that Savy just pointed out. And that is the biggest pity. It's not that you lost, because you can, if you're young, you can earn that money back very easily over the next however many years with your income, right? But you won't be able to earn it in Bitcoin passively. You won't have that money working for you because you had to extract it out because you didn't have an emergency fund. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting that we just talked about all this. We talked about the Dow Jones. We talked about all these different things. But my mind is going to risk management. My mind is going to, if you are over leveraged right now and you don't have $2,000 just sitting in cash and liquidity, you're in trouble. You're putting yourself in more jeopardy than you understand. Even if you're living with your parents, even if you have like very little taken care of, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. The future is very uncertain. So that's what I'm thinking. Yeah. Savy's sticking around. Did you want to say anything else, Savy?
Oh yeah.
No, I just wanted to say I thank you guys for having me on. Have a great day.
Yeah.
And just be safe out there, guys. Take it easy.
Much appreciated.
Yeah. I think that there was so much good stuff in there. And do I agree with everything? Here's what I'll say. And I'd love to, I'm probably have another conversation with him. Because I want to hear what his thoughts are. Let's go to the daily chart. Go to my screen. Is my screen going to share? Yep. Okay. Sometimes it doesn't want to.
Yeah, it's going.
Let's go over here. And let's kind of take a look at some things that he was talking about. So I don't have his screen. I don't have his chart. These lines are so easy to redraw. So I'm just going to get rid of them for now. So what he kind of had going on was similar to that article that we'd looked at with the Elliott waves. And so he kind of had a little, we'd wave. I guess he had a straight line though, didn't he? He didn't have the Elliott wave one. So his was more. Gosh, I have to freaking get rid of these lines now. Once you start the 1 through 5, you have to do it. He was kind of following this whole trend that was coming down all the way down to here, and then it was going to break over, right? And so this is going to be a bad example because but then he had this going down lower. That's what I think he had 13.3.
Yeah, somewhere
in here. Come on now, there you go, right there. Maybe a little higher, back up here, and then now we're talking about maybe down here towards the 9,000, whatever. And he was looking at that Amazon bubble. There was one thing that I saw him he was looking at. And do you have that Amazon chart?
I mean,
the timetable of it, because what I saw on it it had a fake out down the road that I think he's expecting to happen down here. My question was, is this little thing like the same thing with the Elliott wave? This is kind of what I'm looking at, and I don't claim to be an Elliott wave like expert or anything, but I'm kind of looking at this little move right here, and the fifth wave was the FTX. This would be the argument for the bottom here, and when Amazon did his chart, when it did finally, or I guess it was the .com bubble he was looking at, when the .com bubble did kind of start to move and break those trends, it had a little bit of this fake out, and I think it was very easy. We come down here towards the $19,500, $20,000 region, but I kind of saw as you kind of spread out down that .com bubble, and you looked at when it finally had bottomed out and was slowly going to make its progression, it had a lot of same looks as what we had right here. Now, maybe we're not down the exact same percent. Maybe we're not down, to every little detail. And that's another thing about technical analysis is we look at past things that happens on charts and we use them to the best of our ability. But history rarely repeats itself perfectly every single time. Like, for example, something I've been keeping my eyes on over here on this chart is the similarities that we have to previous bear markets. So, for example, in the past previous bear markets on Bitcoin, we have this top out point that we dropped down to our bottom. Now, back in 2015, we kept retesting it as resistance, but finally we broke back through and turned it into support. And that was the mark that, hey, we're ready for a rally. We never went back down below it. Same thing with the one we had back here in 2018. Obviously, we had a pandemic that threw things off, but that's a black swan event. You can never count on or predict those. We had this last little resistance, dropped down to our bottom, broke back through it, came back down almost immediately. This is the daily chart. A couple of days later, about a week and some change later, we came back down and retested it. A couple months later, we came back down and retested again. But other than the black swan event, we weren't going to go below it again. And then we kind of had something similar happen over here more recently. Now it hasn't played out fully. We'll have to kind of see what happens. But we had our top right here, the top of this yellow box. That was the last level resistance. Dropped down, set these lows. We're back above it. We came back down like about a week and like 2 weeks after breaking through it, turned it into support. That's sitting down there at 21.5. It's going to be interesting to watch. Do we ever go back below 21.5? I think there's a chance that we do, but I still want to watch to see, is that going to copy itself? Are we going to see the same thing happen like we've seen in the past two bear markets? Either way, these are not identical. They just have similarities that we're trying to then put into this future and help advocate, probabilities of what the future price action of Bitcoin could look like. That's a possibility. He brought up some great points as to why that we could go lower, but nothing is 100%. We've always got to be updating ourselves, continue to watch the charts, be willing to change our mind. But that goes back to, I think, and I harked on it while he was here with us, and I want to hark back on it again. Because whereas Savy and I disagree maybe on some points, maybe some peaks, maybe some bottoms, him and I are in very, very firm agreement that no matter which way you have conviction of the market going, up or down, you have your contingency plans. You have your marks of saying, if it does this, that will change my mind completely on what is happening. And that's what I love that he talked about there. I've never heard anyone say that. So that's, I'm gonna use he said, I'm gonna watch that weekly chart now and see, do we ever open and close a single candle body? Let me zoom in over here, above 25.8, I believe is what he said. So that's gonna be somewhere right in here. Do we open and close? Not just shoot a candle above it, not just kind of dance with it for a while, but open and close above it. Very interesting spot, I think, to keep an eye on there.
Now, for folks who may be getting started, Tim, why is it important? What's the distinction? Why does it matter? Why can't just a close above be enough?
Well, so what he's looking for, I can't give the exact answer that I think a lot of people would want, but it's a concept of strength. It's a concept of not only did we close, because if we're going to open a candle above a certain point, that means the previous candle closed above the point. And then obviously, if we're going to close above that point, the next candle is going to open above that point. So that would give you three strong data points of the market wants to stay here. And then let's talk about, he's also talking about a weekly chart. Well, a weekly chart consists of 7 days. 7 days isn't the end all be all, but that's a good amount of time. Let's just kind of use our brain. Those who have been staking around in crypto, maybe the last couple of months, maybe you've been in for a year, 2 years, maybe you bought in at the top, but you stuck around, you're still learning and you want to grow things. A week, a lot of things can change in a week. Like let's just back up. Let's back up to December. We are sitting on March 1st, which means we are 2 months away. We've only 2 months passed when we were hovering at 16,500. That's 8 weeks ago. 8 weeks ago, we were like, ugh. Bitcoin sucks. We're definitely heading down to 9,000.
Mm-hmm.
And in just 8 weeks, the narrative completely shifted to bottom is in. We're heading back up. Watch out for 30,000. Well, guess what? That was just 8 weeks. So what Savy's talking about of one weekly candle, both opening and closing above, that's 7 days of data. That's a significant portion of time that would give the bulls a lot of strength that they were able for an entire week to defend that 25.8. That's significant. So that that was a long answer, but I hope that kind of answers if people are asking that question, that explains why that would be significant.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. I mean, it's an entire week where people are agreeing this is what the price of this underlying asset is. This is, there's not some huge swing. Oh no, actually, I think it's this other so people make predictions. Predictions are different from market orders, right? They're different from limit orders where you can say, well, not only do I think it's 3,000, I'm going to buy it at 3,000, right? It's a difference when you disagree or agree. It's different from predicting. So
yeah. I want to read some chat here. We got a couple questions in here. I want to start off. So Andre Brown. First of all, I want to say, Andre, thank you so much, man. He says, yo, Crypto Bros, didn't mean to be disrespected. My bad. I think he meant disrespectful. Wasn't spamming, just trying to get a question answered. No problem. And it looks like, earlier, he asked the same question a couple times. I think we answered it for him. I think he got the answer, so we're good. Mm-hmm. Everyone who's here, I'm just so glad. I never want to kick anyone out. I never want to delete comments. I want everyone to be able to express their opinion and ask their questions and get their answers, because I want everyone to learn.
Maybe not never.
If you ask the same question over and over and over and over and over and over again, and it just looks like you're spamming, we're going to tell you, hey, we're going to warn you first, like, hey, don't do that. And then if you keep doing it, we're going to cut you out. But Andre, respect to you, man. Thank you for respecting our channel and being very honest and humble in that. And yeah, so glad you're here, man. So glad you got your answer that you were looking for. So this is the name, Flesk. What is that real pronunciation? He says, question, in the February month candle, the weakest is the February month the weak candle due to it only being 28 days of data, whereas others are 30 and 31? Just thought of this. Apologies if not original. Is the February monthly candle? Oh, is it the weakest candle on the monthly chart?
I don't think.
Technically speaking, he's correct that it gets 2 to 3 less days than every other month of the year. So yes, like for example, if February had 30 days, let's go to the monthly chart here, and I'm gonna go over to.
I see what he's saying though. I never thought about that.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought of that either.
And
honestly, I don't know what to say. But let's just say today was February 29th because it was let's say it was a different month. It wasn't February. It was March. It's March 29th. Well, this doji candle wouldn't look like this. It would have a nice little speck on it. It would still be a doji. But it wouldn't be an ugly one. But
you kind of get into self-fulfilling prophecy territory because it's a new month. There's new liquidity that was waiting on the sidelines just for the new month.
And that's another point I was going to make is we don't know how many traders and investors that were whales sat there and said it's February 28th. It's the last day of the month. Let's sell off and dip it down.
So fun little niche moment there. Technically, you're right. It is just from everything we talked about like agreeing above a certain line. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. It is the weakest month. It's the least amount of data for that agreement of where the price is. But does it matter? Probably not. But what does matter is that you're considering coming down to Miami in 2023 for the Bitcoin conference. And we're really good at transitions here. So moving into this ad, moving into this,
look at the website.
I'm going to be able to come. I'm going to be there. Tim will be, he will be
holding down the fort here.
He'll be holding down the fort. You're going to have a little baby, hopefully.
Well, hopefully not, because if the baby came during the conference, that would make it a week and a half. I guess that's not dangerous to be a week and a half early. But we should be waiting another week and a half. But because it's so close, I would hate to be in Miami and get a phone call that Taylor is in labor.
But one thing you wouldn't hate is to go to Miami for the Bitcoin conference.
Right? I wish I was going, honestly. It was a lot of fun last year when I got to go. And I'll be at 2024, but not 2023. But the cool thing about it is if you have not bought tickets yet and you're really sitting on the fencing, I really want to go, with our link, all caps, Investing Bros, you guys get 10% off.
Yep. It's right in the description right there. Whether you're on mobile or web, you can come down here, click this link, and use this delicious promo code, and you will help out a bro.
They will. Yeah.
You'll help out the channel, and you'll get to come. You get to go down there, and we can meet up, dab it up, bro style, and chat crypto, baby. Yeah.
Yeah. Taylor, did someone just commented about being 3 weeks early? Oh, Tyler Main said we were 3 weeks early. Yeah. Okay. What is not that you have a kid, so you wouldn't be the expert on this. What is the cutoff for being a premature born baby?
I think that's a Chat GPT question. I don't know.
Chat GPT question
or a Google question. Maybe a Google user can fire up to their Google account and find out for us. I don't know.
The good news is at this point, Taylor's healthy, baby healthy. We've had no complications whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
She's doing good.
Yeah.
I know. Like, I don't think. It's actually weird. Like, I think when I've heard stories of her, I was born, and some people are going to say this makes a lot of sense.
You were born?
I was born, T-Sham. I was born with the umbilical cord wrapped around my neck 3 times. So I was born with a purple face.
Goodness gracious.
The blood had been cut off. They had to undo it and stuff. I think Taylor had a sibling that was born breech. But other than that, neither one of our families have any like traumatic birth stories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
well, speaking of birth stories, ex-Goldman Sachs analyst releases kill to earn zombie game, Undead Blocks.
What a segue.
Well, they've birthed this new thing, and there was some buzz actually in our Discord. There were some folks in there that were pretty excited about this release, and it looks pretty cool. I mean, if they're really, I want to go play this because I'm not a hardcore COD gamer, although I do play it probably 4 or 5 hours a day. I have not played Zombies in a while, so maybe it's time to go check it out. I wonder if you can only get it on PC or if I doubt it's going to be for consoles, but yeah, I definitely want to go check out this game. The first-person shooter game is launched on Immutable X, so interesting, on Ethereum compatible EVM layer 1 blockchain that is already home to GameStop's NFT marketplace and games like Tiny Colony. So, after in the context of what we've talked about today, with Bitcoin potentially having a new bottom to put in down at 13 and maybe even lower, it's kind of a little bit strange to be talking about metaverse projects and things like that. But there was a couple points made in the chat, and I think there were some strong points, which is that the internet is different now, right? A lot of what Savy was comparing Bitcoin's chart to was the .com bubble and Amazon. Well, that was all the birthing, right, of a brand new technology that a lot of people have rightly, in my mind, compared to the Industrial Revolution, right, or the invention of, the written word, or, the major inventions. And so, the point can be made that now that the .com bubble has sorted itself out, right, and the internet has become a much more normalized technology, that processes, and specifically what was mentioned in the chat, but I don't remember who, is that the transfer of information has a much higher bandwidth and is much quicker, higher velocity of information throughout the economy and throughout investors. So that's a strong argument for the bottoms already in, but there's still a lot of principles such as Fibonacci. There's still a lot of statistical probabilities that would go against the fact that technology is, specifically the internet, is throwing off some kind of macro trend. So, again, you have to make these decisions for yourself, guys. That's why investors make so much money, because they're smart, right? They make the right calls on these type of things. And they're also smart because they know that if they don't know the answer, they don't invest, right? Mm-hmm. Or if they only have a certain degree of certainty, they only invest accordingly with a measured amount of their own capital that they can afford to lose. So there's that story. All that to say, there's a new zombie game out that looks kind of cool. True. And I want to play it, and I hope I'm not disappointed, but we'll see.
Well, I want to play Angel Advocate. Which means because we had Savy. Yeah. Savy brings to the .com bubble. We have some Devil's Advocate.
I've never heard
that
chat. Before.
I just thought of it. I think I just termed it. That could be the quote of the day.
I'm not surprised.
Quote of the day tomorrow. Tim Warren says, "I want to play Angel Advocate."
Angel Advocate.
Angel
I like
Advocate.
It.
So
that could be
the Devil Advocate.
Good band name.
Advocate,
I'm surprised. How have I never heard that? Angel Advocate.
Maybe
I'm just living under a rock.
Listen, that's the types of thoughts you have. Remember in the quote of the day today that great minds talk ideas. I'm talking ideas right now.
You are. Yeah. You're creating ideas.
I'm creating ideas. That's right. Great minds. Anyway, so I think that's a good Devil's Advocate of saying there was some differences going on with the .com bubble. So let's do the Angel Advocate.
Mm-hmm.
we just saw President Biden made an announcement that he is going to be raising taxes. Part of his new bill that he's passing will raise taxes.
Awesome.
That puts pressure on people.
Yeah.
Also, again, we got a lot to look out for here over the next months, and I'm not even just talking about 12 months, maybe even the next 24 months of what inflation actually looks like. Is it even possible to do what the Fed wants and get it back down to 2%? That being said, we keep printing money to send to Ukraine and other things. In all reality, it would make a lot of sense to be printing money to send to like Ohio, but that's a whole nother beast. We'll get into that a different day. We're printing money, we're spending money, we're trying to tackle inflation. The economy is not, it's not seeing a terrible place, but we're seeing signs that it is getting weaker and weaker and weaker. People putting money into stuff's a lot different. For Bitcoin to survive and not have to drop down, we would need to see just a fundamental shift in the ideology of what Bitcoin is, and people saying, you know what, I'm going to get out of equities and I'm going to get out of the stock market. I'm going to get out of other things and I'm going to go into Bitcoin. Yeah. Otherwise, I think it's a very real possibility with all that stuff happening. Maybe it doesn't do mimicking what the dot-com bubble is. Maybe in the next 10 years, we're going to be talking about, remember back in 2023, 2024, as we watched the entire equity market crash because inflation and spending and everything was just out of control. I'm almost looking at these $9,000 predictions. Again, I don't think they're going to happen. I think that we can make our way out of there. However, if they happen, I think that's the causality. That's what's going to bring us down here. Is there's so much uncertainty when it comes to our economy right now in a way that we haven't seen this type of thing before. Like that's something that's really big. And I know it's 10 o'clock. We're going to wrap it up here. Rarely in our history, the last time this happened was the Great Depression. Did we have two problems at the exact same time? We have a problem with our inflation numbers, but we're also having a problem with economy things where we had negative GDP for 2 months in a row here just a couple months ago. That could happen again very easily. Just because we've had positive GDP over the last 2 quarters does not mean that we're sitting here very strong. It's rare that we're sitting in this bad of a spot when it comes to the economy, and we have massive inflation. How we're going to handle this is going to be very, very, very important to keep an eye on. That is all we have time for today. We are a little bit over, but we love each and every single one of you guys. We had over 150 people at one point concurrent watching the show today. We have 110 likes right now, but we got a lot more likes. You definitely could leave before we tune out. T-Shroom, last thoughts before we go?
Yeah, we just got a little bit of data here. The ISM manufacturing PMI actual was 47.7. The forecast was 48. So just wanted to report on that at the close here of the show.
Bullish or bearish?
Well, the market will have to decide that.
Okay, we'll talk more tomorrow about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. With that said, though, we love each and every single last one of you. If you guys didn't get to watch the portion where we talk with Savy, go back and watch it. And again, my big encouragement, agree or disagree with him. Respect that people need to continue to learn. And he made some great points, not only in terms of price predictions, but just investing and trading in general. Make sure to go back and watch that. Subscribe to his channel. Follow him on Twitter. We will see all of you guys tomorrow morning again for our next episode. With that said, you guys have a great day.